So yeah, in the Army, right, the most important person in like any unit, any kind of like combination of like rifleman or like, you know, squad machine gunner is the doc or the medic.
Sure.
And you know, and he's like pretty much the lifeline.
I'd hang around him.
Well, hey, jump in the front lines, grab that M4, M16, you know, and get some, right?
You will smell people. Like, it's just, sometimes it can be a little bit rough, but see, that's where, as a doc.
No washing machines.
So there's an old adage in the military. It says that you can trust people with your life, but you cannot trust them with your stuff. So we would go around in these like different areas, and you know, we'd see these kids, and they would know our vehicles after a while, and they would get really comfortable with us. And, you know, we'd give them like, you know, big bottles of water. We'd give them Gatorade.
Sure.
We'd even give them like powdered electrolyte mixes and show them how to mix it in the water so they get like taste and stuff.
Find the colors, find the light. In the gray, we'll find our sight. Brutal banner, fierce words. Shadows scream, streets unheard.
Welcome to Stay in the Gray podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and I'm here to bring you raw conversations about life and those undeniable human truths. We dive into the chaos, one issue at a time, blending comedy, controversy, and the unexplainable. Get ready for transparent ideas straight from the gray areas where most answers are hiding. So stay curious, stay inquisitive, please stay laughing, stay in the gray. Come check it out. We'll see you there. Hey everyone, February the 28th, 2025. Gentlemen, how are we tonight?
Excellent, sir.
Good.
Thank you.
We've been trying to get this group, this threesome, if you will, together for a long time, and I'm very, very excited to have you guys here tonight. People know Manny; they've seen your mug on this show before.
Yeah.
So we'll get to you, but Mitch, glad you're here, my man.
Thank you for having me.
And I was thinking about how to intro this and whatever, but the bottom line is I'm just going to ask you straight up. Tell me a little bit about you in the sense when it comes to your military and anything else you think is important to know about you, because I've had conversations with you and I'm fascinated by the things you have to say. You've traveled. You're a Korn fan, which makes all the difference in the world.
Hell yeah.
And I'm very intrigued by military life and what you guys do and did for this country. And so just kind of fill me in on you. Like, when did you go into the military? What were your goals in life? And so people go, why the hell is this guy here? You know?
Hey, well, first off, I just want to say I'm a man who pays attention. I just want to know what's going on in the world, right? Especially in my own country. I am the son of a soldier, grew up in the military as a brat, lived over 4 countries in 4 different continents. Well, technically 6 countries, but I love to travel. I did a lot with the military. I was an Army combat medic. 68 Whiskey is the MOS designator. I did a lot of healthcare-based initiatives. I was an instructor. I've done everything from teaching soldiers how to do CPR to plugging wounds, putting on tourniquets, how to look at mass casualty events and say, hey, I need 2 guys with me to go ahead and get these 6 people that are injured to a safe space so we can start working on them. So I was kind of like an instructor and like a train the trainer type.
Goodness.
Yeah.
So I didn't know it was full. I didn't know you were medical. I thought, yeah, wow.
Yeah, Ryan. So in the Army, right?
You saw some stuff.
I did. I worked on both sides, the Iraqi side and the American side.
Oh.
And even
I didn't
private
know
contractors.
that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, I was going to say.
Go ahead,
So
man.
yeah, in the Army, right, the most important person in like any unit, any kind of like combination of like rifleman or like, you know, squad machine gunner is the doc or the medic.
Sure.
And you know, and he's like pretty much the lifeline.
I'd hang around him.
Yeah,
the whole
you know,
time.
yeah. So you never want to make him sad, mad,
No,
or you
no,
know,
fuck no.
you want to do everything to make sure that he's, you know, combat efficient, happy.
You'd be like,
ready.
wasn't this the asshole that said something the other day?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm the guy that smacks him around.
There
you know,
you go. There you go.
And interesting that he mentioned that. So I actually want to piggyback off of what he said. So in respects, the doc or the combat medic or whoever's the medical liaison that's with that group, those people trust that person with their life, whether it's male or female, it doesn't matter. But it is ultimately the goal of the medical personnel to be proficient at your skills. You need to know what you're doing. You have to walk the walk and talk the talk. And if you don't, they'll find it out. They'll suss it out. And when they find it out, you're kind of going to be SOL. They're going to be labeling you as a POG, which is a person other than grunt, which is actually a derogatory term. POG.
I don't know that. Is that something most people should know?
Well, yeah. So
Pogue.
Yes.
So those are the people are like in the back of the base. They're paper pushers. They're supply men.
Yeah.
They're water treatment.
I love it. We've got right down.
Fuelers
We're
and
right
stuff.
in. We're right in it already.
Yeah.
We haven't even
Sorry,
started.
Adam Sandler. We love the water boy, but
There you go.
Yeah.
He's that guy.
Yeah. Yep. In the 74
Oh,
Delta
so-
NBC guys.
yes,
Yeah. They don't.
NBC.
They
POG.
Yes.
person other than grunt is actually ultimately
Okay.
what it is.
All right.
So it's basically.
Is there anybody that's on the line there that's like not quite, but he's close? Like, what position would that be? Like,
Probably S2.
what is that? Okay, everybody.
they're basically-
my audience. I love they're gonna inside joke laugh. Like, oh, the S2. No one knows
Yeah.
what that is.
So S2, right, is the guy it's pretty much a clerk, right? And he's a person that's say, hey, I am, let's say, Lieutenant Ryan, I want to take vacation. So you would go to this person, and he would be the one.
That's it.
Yeah, so he can be the lowest level, and he means the difference of like you going to vacation or you going to war.
So he has power, but
yes.
he's kind of
Yes.
that annoying power guy.
Yes,
Okay.
and he almost never sees combat.
Right.
Almost never.
Oh, sure.
And he never has to do really, really crappy details.
Yes,
details are jobs that have to be done. So again, to piggyback off of what he was saying, so the medic's job ultimately is to show competence. And if you don't show competence, it will be sussed out and you will be called out and you'll basically be a POG where you can go hang out in the back while they take another medic who is proficient, who knows what they're doing, and they're going to basically adopt that other person. So you never want that as a medic.
Sure. So before were you assigned that, or is it something that you do before you enlist?
So in the Army, you're able to choose your job, MOS, if you will, right? It's a designated.
Do you have to have previous training, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, it does help if you're trying to pick your job, but ultimately you can choose what job you want to have before you actually go into basic training.
And then they'll train you once you're in.
Once you get done with basic training, then you can take you to what's called AIT, which is like advanced individual training. And then you really go deep, hardcore into
Even medical?
everything.
Wow.
Every field there is. But so there are people that get what's called an option 40 package. That is given to you on conditions whenever you enlist. When you go to the recruiting office in town, you speak to the recruiter, you get an option 40 package. It's basically allowing you the ability to go to even higher and better schools that focus on things like Ranger School, Airborne, Air Assault, going Special Forces.
Special forces.
Those are the big swing and
And you were both Army, is that
we were
right?
both Army, yes.
Okay,
It's
and you didn't cross paths. You just met each other after.
after.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's so just kind of bonded over that experience, even though it wasn't together, it was still shared.
Yeah, it was like remember what we talked about at dinner? I think it was a couple days ago. We were talking about when you're living in a tent with 30 other guys, right? You really get to know everybody pretty intimately.
Oh, that's a great segue here. Go ahead. That was my next question.
Yeah,
But
okay,
go
cool.
ahead.
Yeah.
No, keep going.
So whenever you're in a tent with 10 to 30 people, obviously all of the same gender and sex, all that. You really get to know people. You get to know which ones stink. You know which ones clean up. You know which ones will look over your stuff when you're gone, so someone doesn't steal anything. So you really
which ones might steal.
correct.
Yeah.
So you really get to know who you can trust.
Do they do the gender thing? I mean, do they not have females in the same
co-ed.
tent with?
But things could have changed in the new military.
I'm wondering, and I don't mean to politics and all that,
But even if it did,
Yeah.
it doesn't exist anymore because Donald
that's true.
Trump ended
That's true. He did.
the DEI thing.
And that's a very good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to help the morale.
Morale, and that's and a lot of people, and we won't talk about Donald and things like that, but the morale when it comes to that subject.
Yeah.
I often wondered about it, not often, but enough. And some people don't get it because they're not there. Mm-hmm. So go ahead, Manny, what do you think? I mean, you like what has just happened.
Yes. And the reason why, right? Because, I mean, it's devastating, man. Like, for example, right? All the women out there, they want equality, right? Well, hey, jump in the front lines, grab that M4, M16, you know, and get some, right? And when they do, right, let's say when you get like a group of 20 men and they see like, let's say that dead female soldier, that's shocking, you know, that's like automatic PTSD, you know, and that's what I care about.
So it's more intense when you see a dead woman.
Oh, absolutely. You know,
Because you feel like in your heart
Sure.
of hearts as a man, you were supposed to
Protect her. Absolutely. And that's the way I've been brought up, and that's the way I feel like it is. And I know nowadays it's, you know, people are kind of, you know, it should, I don't even, we won't get to that. Maybe next time.
Sure.
But I think that there's something to that. So that I was wondering about your opinion on that. But, so you were talking about getting to know people. You're very intimate with people, not that way, but you know what I'm saying.
I totally get it.
You're in. It's just I'm so used to this show making like sex jokes. And
well, Mitch is only intimate on Saturday.
There you go. Right. There you
Only
go.
on Saturday.
Yeah. Tonight is not.
Yeah.
You're good.
Friday
you're in the
nights,
clear.
I'm still in the clear.
But I'm so. I know this might seem boring on the surface, but I don't think it is. I want to know about living conditions. I am so fascinated. Not fast. Fascinated is the wrong word. I'm so.
Intrigued.
Well, I'm intrigued by it, but I just feel like we have enough technology and enough money and enough whatever. I mean, I know we're in a debt, but you know what I'm saying. Enough to take care of active military. I mean, veterans is a whole other topic. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But active military, when you're over deployed, you can make those tents pretty badass. You could have, right? Or am I wrong? I mean, technology, air conditioners, things like that.
So
And from everything I knew, Mitch, it's not that. It's hot. It's miserable. Tell me what it's like with the living conditions.
well, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Well,
I
there you
guess.
go.
I mean, you're gonna
guess.
get some kind of fungus exposure.
Ugh.
Like, you will smell people. Like, it's just sometimes it can be a little bit rough, but see, that's where as a doc.
No washing machines, right?
I mean, luckily, if you're on the right type of forward operating base or FOB,
Yeah.
you're going to have like usually it'll be like Filipino or Nepalese or some third world contractor that's coming over and they do the laundry for you. So that's like one headache you don't have to worry about, right?
Yeah.
But then you also have those soldiers or service members that are in the desert or in terrible conditions where they don't think to take their laundry down to the laundromat to go get it done.
Why not?
They just don't.
They don't need to do it.
So
right?
as a doc, my job is to make sure, hey, I can smell you from across the tent. You need to go take care of yourself. Go get yourself clean. We're going to get your laundry together. We're going to take care of it.
Yeah, that's
sometimes
not just
you
an
have
odor. That's
you
stuff
gotta-
happening. Yeah.
You got to daddy them sometimes because if you don't, like some of these guys, they're a reflection of the working class. So some of these guys don't come from money. They do not have any investments, and they're very bad with their paychecks, if you will. So some of these guys, they lack home training. So, as a doc, it's like whatever I was lacking, I had to go and figure it out real fast because a lot of these guys would look up to me as like a person that they would get sound advice from. So I always had to come correct. And if I ever made a mistake as a doc, you always had to admit it. And that's important to soldiers and all military, even civilian, police, first responders, it doesn't matter. Just owning your mistakes outright up front can really save you a headache.
I think our
later on.
doctors should have to do that here.
Yes. So many doctors we lost over COVID because of the forced vaccinations that they fought against.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, that's a whole nother.
Yeah, they made them pariahs, but I understand. Yeah.
Well, we can talk about that if you want, Mitch.
Talk about whatever you want. It's your podcast.
That's true.
That's right.
Well, maybe we'll get there. Because that's a whole. I didn't even think about that. Let's move on, and we'll come back to that.
Okay.
But living conditions. You talk about these things. I want to know about day to day. I want to know about. Okay, you wake up in the morning, and what's your routine?
Oh, hey, Mitch, by the way, did you have to take malaria pills?
Yeah, we had to do that.
Yeah. So the Army, right? Because of if you go to combat in the Middle East, they'll give you like weird pills, Well, mainly Ambien and doxycycline. Yeah, back in the day.
It's an antibiotic.
Yeah. And so we had to take them, right? And these would give us like weird dreams, man. So it
Really?
was, yeah. But yeah, Mitch,
Was it a type
Mostly
of
the
Ambien?
It was mostly the Ambien, but I don't think I ever took
Was
it.
actual Ambien?
I don't think I actually took it. I'm not familiar. He did go to war at a different time than I did.
Right.
I did. Mm-hmm.
So, but yes. So you're going.
When were you? Go ahead.
I was there from. Let's see. It was April 2007 to June 2008. So it's 14 months.
2008, and you were
So I went to war twice to Afghanistan, 09 to 2010.
so you were just before him.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
2011 to 2012.
Okay, goodness.
So he's got more common experience. One thing you're talking about the living conditions. So
Yep.
So you basically your first
I
formation.
mean, is it like bugles in the morning and like
Yeah, it's bugles in the morning.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a tradition.
It goes all the way back to the beginning, boss. Yeah. So
I mean, I knew that, but I still just can't believe that everybody's supposed to be like, here we go, like
yeah, it's kind of funny when it's comical when you think about it. But yeah, you so your
so bugles in the morning.
So the first time you stand in your little formation, your little squad, your platoon, whatever, your company, you stand. You're going to be falling into formation. It's never at exactly the time it's supposed to be. It's always earlier. So if you have
Earlier?
so your first formation's at 6:30, you better be down there at 6:15. Because if in the Army, if you're on time, you're late.
This is why I would never. About boys, I'd be 6:45. Hey, hold on a second. I'll be rolling up in, and I don't think that would work. I don't think I would be. I'd be. What would you say? The guy in the back, everybody Pogues or something. That's me. Anyway, so breakfast. What's that like?
So
Take me through it.
Yeah. So you get up at like 5:30 in the morning.
Okay.
You do your shave because you got to be clean shaven, or everything's got to be like
Even like a
low level stubble, unless you have what's called a shaving profile, or in the Navy they call it like a shaving chit, and a chit, CHIT. So basically, what it is you get what's called folliculitis. Folliculitis is where when you shave every day, if you have curly hairs, you start to grow underneath the skin, and they get infected, and you get these really big, painful bumps. African Americans, people of dark complexion or of curly hair, they get it the most. So a lot of times, if you see like someone of dark complexion with facial hair and military uniform,
little bit, yeah,
it's because they have a shaving profile.
Or Mitch, Sikhs, SIKHs, those guys.
Oh, Sikhs.
Yeah, Sikhs. Yeah, they're allowed to have a full beard and they're allowed to wear a turban.
Yes, correct.
Given the religion.
Yeah, and actually, Rastafarians can
Yeah.
have dreads, but they can only be a certain length.
Yeah.
Could you
Ooh,
know?
that's interesting. Rastafarians can have dreads
Rastafarians are in the military. That's really
in
weird.
our military, and they are allowed to have dreadlocks.
Yes, but they're like, I think they only go like down to their
But still.
their ears. So it's like basically from the top of the head to the ear. But
What if I wanted to have them and I claim to be a Rastafarian?
then you can do that. You could, because there are white Rastafarians.
Really?
Yeah, they do exist. So you were talking about the
breakfast
the
and all
day to day. So you get up 5:30, do your shave, you get your uniform on. Usually it's going to be your physical fitness uniform, your PT uniforms.
Right.
And then you brush your teeth, all that. You go downstairs, you get in your formation. Everybody falls in. Falling in is like where everybody goes to the position of attention. Everyone's already lined up, ready to go. Then you go ahead and you do your little PT training where you train for about an hour. Like 3 days out of the week, you're going to run
4 miles.
Yeah, so you run like 12 miles a week.
Yeah.
And then Tuesdays are usually like push-ups and sit-ups, pull-ups, like.
So it's just
strength training.
workouts and
Every
cardio and just
Yeah.
everything. Okay.
But in some units and some bases, they have what's called sergeant's time on Thursday mornings.
Yes.
So it's the only time of the week where you get to wear like your military uniform. You don't have to put on your physical training uniform. You get to put on your military uniform, and you go on a march like 18 kilometers, or you have like 45 to 60 pounds of weight on you.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You're carrying your rifle, going up and down hills. Or you could be doing stuff like you go to the range and go shoot some guns, which is always fun.
Yeah, Ryan. So I was artillery, right? And for sergeant time training on a Thursday, we would do like simulated combat, like artillery strikes, right? Kind of like Risk, but like at a military map. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Kind of like Risk.
Yeah.
Like the game.
Yeah, the Risk. Well,
That's pretty cool.
Well, kind of like hey,
Yeah.
I'm in this coordinate and like I'm shooting this type of missile
Ooh, yeah.
at this coordinate. Well, okay. Well, if you're shooting this missile, I'm shooting this missile
Right.
at your supply base. Something fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
tactician type stuff.
Correct, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. See, that is the beauty of sergeant's time, and it
Yeah.
only happens on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Most soldiers appreciate sergeant's time.
Yeah.
If you have a really good leader who's leading your team or your squad, generally you will have a great time on those Thursday mornings. Now, once you get done with your hour of training, you have until about 9 o'clock to your next formation, so you can go up to your room, your barracks room, or go back home if you live on base and you're married and have kids. Go take a shower, go get your breakfast, and then be back by 9 o'clock in the duty uniform, which is your military uniform. And then from 9 o'clock all the way until about 4:30 in the afternoon, that's your duty day. That's like where you do all your
Where you do
soldier
your
stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
What's the food like?
It depends on what base you're at, but in the
correct.
Army, it does
Is
not
it?
even come close to the Air Force.
Yeah.
The Air Force has the best food.
So when my wife was stationed with the Navy in Okinawa, we would go to Kadena Air Base, which was like, it's the best base on Okinawa, Japan. And it's got the best dining facilities. It's obviously Air Force, so everything is paid out the
dope.
ass. I mean, they get
Don't they get slack? Air Force is kind of like the
chair
Yeah.
force.
yeah. Okay, chair
chair
force. Chair
force,
force.
yeah.
They spend all their time in air condition for the most
So there is a little bit of a rivalry between all four.
Oh yeah.
We all talk.
Five.
We all talk
Coast
smack.
Guard.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think I even heard you talking smack to your wife the other night.
Yeah, Army and Navy, a house
Yeah, Army
divided.
and Navy, yeah. Divided. So food's not. Is there any time where you're just like, what is this? Just shit. Like what is
Every
this?
day.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every day.
Okay. What would you eat for dinner? Like, what would you go? What would be a normal? Like, you go through a line is like cafeteria or something.
You can do
Yeah.
the dining facility or
But what is
BFAC,
it?
yeah.
Like, what kind of stuff they have? Just slop.
Well, like Salisbury steak, sometimes spaghetti. You'll have like
But it's
on,
not. It's not good
like-
Salisbury
it's
steak
like-
and not good spaghetti.
it's like
right?
glorified school lunch.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like a ruby.
I know
Luby's
if
or whatever?
if you're overseas or like fighting a war zone or like on a deployment, Friday nights, right? They serve steak and shrimp.
Oh, but
Yeah,
like
we call it
surf
surf
and
and turf.
turf.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason for that, right? If you get killed in the military or
man.
like at the battlefield, it's like your last like best meal before you die.
Sucks
Yeah.
to think
It's like a
about it that
homage,
way.
but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to think about it that way. You guys each night should have fucking lobster and get whatever the hell you want, and I feel like they should give that to you. But whatever.
Well, come on, Elon Musk, come fund that.
Well, I mean,
All of a sudden, everybody's joining the military. I get lobster every night. What the
yes,
fuck?
sir.
yeah, well, the Air Force probably gets lobster.
Yeah.
I say this, but my two best military friends besides Manny are both Air Force. So I don't know if that says anything.
Well,
but
but it's fun. You
Yeah.
razz each other. I
we
would.
do. They razz themselves, actually.
But I'd probably be Air Force if I heard air conditioning.
think
That's
so.
all I need to know.
Nah, I don't think right. I think
I-
you're Space Force.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, you.
Sure, isn't that make believe? That'd be me.
No, it's real.
No, I know.
Yeah.
You're gonna be in Donald Trump's military.
There you
Space
go.
Force, brother.
I'm in. Yeah. I'm intrigued by it. I am now not probably somebody that they would. I'm not sought after because I'm old, and I don't have a lot to offer. So it's kind of like, well, what would I do now? Space. Look, I can be behind the machines and all that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could be doing their media.
There you go. Oh, well, there you
Or
go.
or
I'm in.
you can be talking to aliens trying to have them come watch Stay in the Gray.
Well, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, we'll get there, man. Take it easy. You mentioned before about getting to know the people around you.
Yeah.
Can you give me any examples of the negative? Like,
Sure.
man, I came in and this one guy, somebody that stuck with you, and you're like, man, I had to watch out for this guy. I had to whatever. I had to confront him. I had stuff. He was not trustworthy. And you don't have to go into great detail because I don't want to throw him under the bus. but
No
just-
problem. I'm not going to dox anybody.
Yeah.
but- So I actually had there was a particular sergeant who was 2 ranks above me, and he used to bust my balls all the time because he was like, "Oh, medics, you guys don't do anything." It was like, well, if you guys take care of yourselves, I don't have to do a whole
Yeah.
lot. I'm just observing at that point. But he was always a ball buster. He's always trying to, like, if I was working out or whatever, he'd be like, "Oh, you need to lose some more weight or whatever." So, and I remember one time, it was like towards the end of my time in Iraq, and I was like 220, 225, but I was like solid muscle. I was fully built. I have fallen so far. Please forgive me, God. But
I don't have anything to say.
But yeah, he was actually making fun of me when I was having to do a weigh-in tape, because in the military they got to make sure if you're so big, like weight-wise, like your number is so high. So being 225 and 5'11", it was like, we need to make sure that we tape you to make sure you're not on the fat boy program.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's the main below 20% body fat.
Something like that, yeah. So, but he was busting my balls. But when they measured my neck was so wide that they were like, okay, so he meets the parameters for being able to be 225. Wow. But he was making fun of me, and I was like, hey, look, I got some boxing gloves. If you want to step in the back, everybody can watch if you want to see it. And I called him out. And after that, he just totally left me alone because all I did was just be like, hey, look, we can go take care of this. Everybody, they can bet some dollars. We can have some fun. And then after that, he was kind of like,
So
he stopped.
So he was the guy that it wasn't untrustworthy per se. He was just the busting balls guy, like the guy that was like
Yeah.
just.
So if you want to go that deep, so
Well,
there are people.
Look, I'll go as deep as what you're willing to go, Mitch,
Sure.
or Manny.
So there's an old adage in the military. It says that you can trust people with your life, but you cannot trust them with your stuff. And the reason why this is because in the military, you live a life that's very rough and tumble. So a lot of the times the gear that they give you that you have to sign for gets destroyed.
Okay.
Because it's just a natural process of things. You know, what do they call it? It'll come back to me. But basically, it's like the rate of diminishing returns. So if you, for example, if they give you like a $250 sleeping bag system, right? And then you use it when you go out in the field or you train or you go to war and it gets destroyed over time. Sometimes if you find somebody's who looks better than yours, you just swap yours with theirs and they won't even know and you take their stuff away.
Oh,
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff happens.
It does?
It does. So you have to remember, again, the military is a reflection of the working poor. So
Yeah, that's
some of these
true.
people are raised in kleptomaniac type
And a
families.
lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people, it's like they're shocked to hear this kind of stuff. And, you know, and I think about it sometimes whenever I talk about the military, and I'm like, you know, it's not like every single person that just because they served, all of a sudden they're this saint. There's this, you know, infallible person. Oh my gosh, thank you for, you know, you're amazing. You know, I've heard enough stories.
Yeah.
And that's sad because ultimately from the outset, it's like, thank you.
Uh-huh.
And that's very admirable.
Yeah.
But then there's stuff behind the scenes that people don't see.
Yeah.
So I was just curious if there was something that kind of stuck out, and
So that actually did happen to me about the whole swappage of gear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You
I'm
left
sorry.
with
I
someone's
interrupted
destroyed
you.
stuff. No, you're fine. And so usually when that happens, it teaches you a very strong lesson of always be aware of where all your stuff is at
Right.
all times. And this kind of
It's
plays.
hard, isn't it?
It can be. And so, yes, it is very hard because when
you're out doing whatever,
you got 500 pieces of kit and different things and this and that, everything's signed for, you're liable for it. Because if not, when it comes time for you to go to turn in your stuff at CIF,
When you leave service.
they're going to be like, we don't have this, this, and this. We're going to take it out of your paycheck.
Right.
So that's the reason why you'll sometimes hear about people stealing. Now, when people do get caught stealing, the leadership usually will destroy this person's career because you've just basically shown the unit that you cannot be trusted.
Right.
We want to get rid of you. So we're going to do everything from
and rightfully so.
Yes. So they do everything from giving you extra duty, which means you got to be like cleaning parking lots, cleaning sidewalks, cleaning buildings, picking up trash till like 11 o'clock at night.
Or a punishment called Article 15.
Oh man.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
So instead of extra duty or on top of extra duty, you can get your pay docked. So you can actually lose pay for up to 45 days.
Oh,
Yep.
see, these are the things I don't think people realize.
They don't realize it. So there's like an incentive for people to not steal, but there will always be somebody somewhere when they find an opportunity, they will take it. So I always tell people, it's like, always know where your stuff is, always keep it locked. And like, even if like, for example, like just everyday stuff, like if you're going to go inside the store for just a second to grab a drink and you leave your car running is the dumbest thing you can do.
For sure.
Because you're literally opening yourself up to be stolen from. So in the military, I learned that you just can never take chances. You always got to, keep your head on a swivel. And
It's sad, but
you trust people to a fault.
Yeah.
You trust people to a fault. You want to, but at the same time, you cannot trust the devil inside of them. And unfortunately, there's a little bit of that in everybody. So.
Yeah, that's why for you young men out there trying to join the military or the army in that fact, right? I recommend that you guys go special forces or rangers.
Option 40, baby.
Yeah, and these are like the elite units, and these guys are like the no shit. Like, hey, you have to be sharp, you have to be trusted,
Right.
And and essentially you're making a bigger impact than most army soldiers.
Yeah, 100% agree with that, man. If you're going to go in, you go in balls deep.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the spectrum, there are people that just want to join the military just to get a college degree.
Sure.
Just to go ahead and get one.
And
step
they'll
closer to-
admit that.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
I was one of those
and
guys.
that's
Well, Manny was chasing a girl, so that's a whole different fucking thing. Jesus.
Well, yeah.
We'll get to that.
yeah, for sure.
Every show, I'm going to try and get this fucking girl. It's call in or something.
That'd be funny.
Give me a message. Anyway,
Sure.
where were you deployed?
So I was in Bakuba, Iraq, but I was basically with what's called route clearance. I was with combat engineers. Our job was to go down the road and look for IEDs on the side of the road. Or if there was a building, if there was a building that was making bombs to blow us up or blow up the indigenous people, we'd have to go and stop that threat. So I have.
That's a lot more than just being a medic.
Yeah. I was doing a lot of VIP transport missions, like escorting, generals, colonels, other branches of service, high level brass, because I had built a relationship with my guys that was so ironclad that they saw like I had been tested already. Like even before my unit got there, I was doing right seed ride-alongs.
Yeah.
A right seed ride-along is basically where you go as a brand new virgin combat militaire and you go with another unit and you sit in their vehicles and you go do a mission with them so you can see how it all unfolds.
Yeah.
So if they get shot at, blown up, or if they have to return to base, you know how it all plays out. I was getting, blown up and shot at like day one. So like my guys already knew. They were like, oh, we can trust Chap. Chap is good. Let's bring Chapman in here. So after a while I was doing a lot of VIP.
That's you, right?
Yeah.
Chap. Okay. Chap's you.
Yeah. They just call me Doc, but I mean.
Well, we never gave your names. I just wanted to make sure people knew. Chap is.
I'm Mitchell Chap.
Yeah, there you go.
But so.
My listeners aren't the smartest. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Mitch. My listeners are amazing. Okay. So I'm going to jump in here. Manny, you told me last time what yours was. What was your do you have a scariest moment? Not only fearing for your life, but maybe now that I know you're a medic, did you have just a chaotic experience where you saw something just disturbing enough? Or what was the moment if somebody said, God, what just haunts you? Do you have any of those? And I know I'm putting you on the spot.
It's fine. No, I don't.
But
I don't mind.
Manny, we can tell jokes until
Yeah, right.
let him think about it a little bit. Do you have any that are kind of off the top of your head?
I would say probably the scariest time. So being around clearance, I was always in a vehicle most of the time until we had to get out on ground and I had to go do something like outside of the vehicles. But so as a direct consequence of being in a route clearance package, I got blown up 4 times. The first time, you have no idea what's happening. It's like when you're a virgin and you have sex and it's over before you realize it.
Sure.
The first time I got blown up,
I don't know about that.
first time I got blown up, I was like, whoa, what just happened? Is everyone okay? Oh God. There's dust everywhere.
What were you? Where were you? What were you doing?
I was in a vehicle and our vehicle got hit by an IED. It was a homing explosive.
You were in a vehicle.
I was in a vehicle, yeah.
Manny was in a tank on his.
No, my Humvee.
The Humvee with the
that's
gun,
even
the gun,
worse.
right?
Oh,
I
that's
was
terrible.
I was hatch gunner.
I felt bad for the Humvee guys. So we were in
Yeah.
striker vehicles. They're big personnel carriers with 4 wheels on each side, so 8 total big
But
tires.
still,
So the first time I got blown up, it was kind of like a surprise. It wasn't the scariest. The scariest time was the second time I got blown up because the bomb was even bigger. And this time I was angry. I wasn't like surprised. I was like, I wanted to kill somebody. I was like, this is the second time this has happened in a month. I'm ready. Who's out there? We need to go stop it. But the way that the insurgency, the guerrilla war tactics that the indigenous people of Iraq were doing was you blow something up from a distance and they don't know who to shoot at because you're so far away.
right. That was my question: is how much of a, I mean, for lack of a better word, investigation when like that happens, you're blown up. Are they just like, oh man, we can't really do much else?
Only thing you can do is just put on the thermal cameras on the 50 cal and you put on the camera and
Yeah, I'd be like you. I'd be like, let's go fuck some shit up.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
Of course, I'd be in the back saying, "You guys do it. You guys got this." But I'd be like you.
Yeah.
Like, what are we sitting here? Why are we accepting this?
Yeah. I don't know, man.
It's gotta be tough.
Yeah. Every time I got blown up, it was more scary.
What are the
than
other
it
ones?
was.
I mean, you just got blown up all the time, and you're here. You're here.
Yeah.
My back suffered for it. I'm actually going through decompression
Well,
right
you
now.
know what? Having some back issues is probably better than it could be if you're blown up 4 times.
Yeah, I got guys that like lost hands,
Yeah.
all kind of craziness. So yeah.
Man, you blacked out, didn't you? And you told me you kind of came back in and it was
Yeah.
very weird. Kind of, you had dreams and shit.
Yeah, I spoke about this on my first podcast with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all I saw was like, white smoke, again. And then where I was like in my mind, right, I'm upright, like normal on the Humvee, and all I can see is like white for some reason. But in reality, I was sideways.
Yeah, yeah.
My pinky was bent,
Right.
and my M240 Bravo, the machine gun, was cut in half, split.
Dang, and that's a large white rifle.
Yeah.
That's a big weapon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Mitch. You probably didn't know this, but I got hit by EFP.
I did too.
Yeah.
That was the third time I got blown up.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Are you familiar with what an EFP
I
is?
haven't been blown up by shit.
Yeah.
EFP, go ahead.
So essentially, in simple terms, it's basically a big copper disc
Okay.
that gets a bunch of force and heat exerted upon it in a short amount of time, and it shoots that copper disc out at such a velocity that it turns into a cone, and it cuts through steel like
damn.
butter. Yeah, it just cuts through whatever it hits. It's powerful. Like the EFP was really scary because when I got blown up by it in the Striker, it almost hit our driver. Our driver almost got hit, and it like went through the engine block.
Wow.
And I could feel the heat coming off this thing.
Yeah. Mine hit the fuel tank. Yeah, flipped my Humvee sideways and started a fire. But
You're lucky that didn't
Yeah.
instantly combust.
Yeah, but everybody survived.
Yeah.
I had concussion for like.
When you had that pinky,
Oh yeah.
I gave Mitch, when Manny told this story initially, I gave him a hard time. I was like, really, the pinky? Are you really upset about that? I'd sacrifice a pin.
Well, I mean, okay. So for me,
I'm giving him shit.
okay. But for
Thank
me,
you for your service, but really, pinky, Manny?
well, hey, so that pinky matters in competition.
I know.
So,
Oh, sure it does.
100%.
Sure it does. And Manny's
It also
all about it.
Yeah, and also for shockers too.
What? What about medical? Were there any injuries you were just like, oh my God? Like, I'd be like, no, I'm not touching that shit.
Yeah, there was one time where we had a particular house outcropping in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it was like desolate. The only thing that was around this particular shanty building, it was a one room building, and all it had was roads, and then it had ditches on the sides of the roads, like berms. You know, the ones where they have the tall grass. You got to throw the incendiary out to kind of burn it all away.
Yeah.
So we found out that there was insurgents that were in this building. They were actually making homemade explosive IEDs, or improvised explosive devices. And so we actually called in coordinates to have a JDAM, which was a 500-pound bomb, dropped on that house by the Air Force. Totally decimates this house, right? But we still got to go check it out because we're the combat engineers.
Right.
One guy got hit so hard by the blast that he hit a telephone pole and knocked it over, and his body was wrapped around the telephone pole like he was giving it a bear hug.
Good God.
The other guy got launched up into a ditch, and he had third-degree burns all over his body, but he was still alive.
Oh,
So this is the fun part.
all right.
So my guys were like, let's just shoot him and leave. And I was like, but wait, there's more, guys. There's more. They're like, what are you talking about, Doc? And I said, this guy has intel. He's still alive.
Yeah.
He's incapacitated. He's not going to lift a finger to hurt us because his body is completely decimated. Let me keep him alive. Let's get him back to the base. And then he can go ahead and give all of that insurgency material about where he's getting his bomb making materials from. And then we can go ahead and shut down a whole area, or we don't have to worry about bombs in that spot.
Now, although sorry to interrupt you. Now, although I'm on board with that totally, I don't have any rules of war in my pocket. Just every man for himself, Manny. But in this situation, is there any part of it that you're not supposed to do that? I mean, you're kind of like, all right.
I was hated while that was going on.
Yeah, but it was smart, right?
They didn't see that at the time because they had short-sightedness on it. They're like, let's just throw a grenade on this fool and just walk away, right? But where I was like, let's...
Was he in agony? I mean, was he just
he
in agony?
was in agony.
That may be that's the point.
But he was able to speak. And because he was able to speak shows me that he had enough competency to be able to give us
could you do it right there? Like, right?
All I could do, honestly, was I was like, look, let's get him in the truck.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to help me, but I finally got two guys to help me.
Yeah.
We got him in the truck. I started wrapping up his burns and stuff with dry bandages. And then I tried to give him an IV, but his veins were so burned and collapsed that like he wasn't getting a lot of good perfusion in his hands and feet. So I did an intraosseous, an IO injection, where it's called a fast one. You stick it on their chest and you hit a plunger and it sticks an IV straight into their sternum to get fluids. So I'm giving this guy fluids, and he's like, water.
Oh man.
He's saying it in English.
Yeah.
He's like, water. And he would say it in Iraqi as well, or in Arabic. And I was like, I can't give him water because he has blast injuries. This fool just got launched out of a building into a ditch, right? If I give him water, it could push out clots from internal bleeding, and he could bleed out inside before I even get him back to the hospital.
Well,
I didn't give him any water. He hated me for that. He spit blood all over my chest.
he's mad.
He was upset, yeah. But all I did was
It's not like you could sit there and give him a medical lesson on why he couldn't have fucking water.
He wouldn't understand it anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
But we got him back, and I remember we got him onto the table in the first aid center that we had there on I won't say the base. I'm not going to dox it, but I guess it doesn't matter anymore. It's Camp Taji, so that was Camp Taji.
Yeah,
So.
I think you're fine to say location as long as there aren't.
So when I brought this fool on the table, everyone, all the surgeons, all the medical staff, they all looked at me like, seriously, you brought us this guy? And I said, keep him alive. He's the most important person you're going to see today.
There you go.
They're like, why? And they're like, this guy's got intel. He's going to help us start shutting down stuff. We need people like him to go ahead and give us information. We need to interrogate this fool.
I thought that wasn't unusual though. Like in wars, and I mean, you see it in the movies. I don't know.
Yeah.
I get it. That's not reality, but you see it where it's like, okay, this guy's still alive. What can we get out of him?
Yeah, he's got intelligence.
And was that kind of the mindset? Was like
nobody else saw that.
No, stop! Don't shoot! Don't kill him.
Yeah.
So going full circle.
Why did nobody see that?
Going full circle all the way back to the beginning where I said is to be a medic, you got to be competent, right? You got to have certain leadership skills that other people don't have. Because I don't have the rank of someone that's leading a whole team or squad or a platoon. But if I show myself competent, they will trust me like they will trust that higher ranking person.
Sure.
So when my commanding officer shows up, he goes, we had to go clear this whole road to get to this other base, and you decided to bring this guy back here?
Right.
When I explained to him everything that I thought of, because nobody else asked me, I said, this is what we got to do with this guy. He said, you know what? That's a great idea. He goes, we'll go ahead and take care of this. I'm going to go ahead and give you a 2-week R&R tonight. So you're going to fly out tonight. So like literally after that mission, I took a 2-week R&R.
Wow.
It was like something out of a movie. It was a trip.
Yeah.
It was a trip.
Because I wonder about that. I wonder if there are people that, if you do something like that.
Yeah.
If people like, and you answer my question, somebody says, I like what you did, deep down, and here you go, you're rewarded and whatever. Whereas some people are like, no matter what, protocol, no matter what, these are the rules.
There are authoritarians out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And this guy was able to say, you know what? I like where your head was at.
Yeah, that was a good call. Yeah.
So, cool. Oh, wow. Okay.
Hey Ryan, do you like military TV shows?
Like MASH?
No. Well,
just
it's a really good one, and for your viewers too. It's called Generation Kill.
All right, Generation Kill. Everybody, Manny's promoting.
I've
Manny
heard of that.
is giving us shows to watch. Generation Kill.
Yes.
What network?
HBO Max.
HBO Max.
Yes.
Okay, tell me about it.
It's pretty much like if you imagine.
Do you
like,
work for this?
No.
Okay.
Well, this TV show reminds me of what Mitch would have done. So it's pretty much the invasion of Iraq. Yeah, and it follows
the initial
2003
to get
Yes.
to get Saddam.
Yes, essentially,
Okay.
and it's
GW.
it's very hyper realistic because you see how the boys act with other boys, and
Right.
they're playing butt games and jokes, and then you see how the atrocities of war, and it's a very very good show. Yeah,
Okay.
if you're
I should check it out. All right, let's shift gears to positives, to funny. There had to be blooper, funny type real moments when you're over there with your boys. Was there one that stuck out during training, during the mess hall? That's what we think of it. We think you guys go through like a fucking mess hall. Is there something that stuck out that was just like it gave you? I always preached. In fact, the last show I did solo was about being able to laugh again. Was there anything that made you guys really laugh? That kind of motive. I know this sounds such a bad question. Was there something
It's
that
not a bad question.
because when you think about you guys being there and just the hell you're in a lot of the time, I'm in hell immediately if I get off that plane because it's hot as fuck. And I don't even. I'd be like, "Where's the AC and the scotch? Let's roll." and I and that's why I wouldn't be good. But was there something that you kind of said, you know what? Today was a good day because this was fucking funny, or you know what I mean? Was there something that happened that we wouldn't know about here? Does this make any sense?
No, it does.
Or am I gonna have to cut this, boys?
No. So
No.
So
You're ready. You got something. All right.
Yeah, I got something for that.
Okay.
There was so whenever you're doing route clearance, you get to know what roads are in the general area pretty well. Like you know where a dead donkey is. Like you start knowing that kind of
They
stuff.
have donkeys over there?
Yes.
Yeah. And so
That was camels. Oh, is that racist? Go ahead.
So there's always like these different houses you'll come across where there's children, right? And we would actually try to build hearts and minds because we cared more about that than, taking out insurgents. Sometimes it was better for our psyche to, let's help these kids out. Let's do something good for these kids. We would give them like Otis Spunkmeyer muffins. We'd give them Rippets. We would, which was like an energy drink, but they don't have that there. So it was like really sought after for them. Because most of their drinks are mostly like chai and coffee. And
Yeah,
stuff.
but you're giving them poison with these energy drinks. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, 100%. But you know what though? I mean, in moderation, right? So
Everything in moderation, my
Yeah.
man. Yep.
yep. So we would go around to these like different areas, and we'd see these kids, and they would know our vehicles after a while, and they would get really comfortable with us. And, we'd give them like big bottles of water. We'd give them Gatorade.
Sure.
We'd even give them like powdered electrolyte mixes and show them how to mix it in the water so they get like taste and stuff. So after a while, what would happen is we would see them. We would start like doing like little funny things, like playing with the kids, like doing funny faces, and they would try to one up us. And then every time we'd see them, they would pop up in another spot and do like a silly little thing. But it was like, even though it was like corny and cheesy, when you're over there, those little things go so far.
Well, it's not the enemy's kids, but it is, but it isn't, but it is. You know what I mean?
You don't
It's
know
like
who
you
the
don't
enemy
know.
is. You don't know. You don't know.
And here are these innocent children.
Yep.
And that's the one thing I talk about with American children right now and dealing with all these issues, the innocence of the kids. Mm-hmm. And they're over there going, they have no clue. I mean, they can't comprehend all this.
What's an iPad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's that? What's this? Why are these people here? And you guys are being nice to them and they're playing games with you. And it's got to hit you. It's got to feel
be
good.
strange, super strange.
But then, correct me if I'm wrong, not to take this down a bad path, but they could run at you with something you don't know. They got something strapped on.
and that is a thing too. So,
Did you ever see that at all?
No, we actually, luckily, we were lucky and we didn't have any suicide bombers
Good.
run into us.
But is that a real thing? That's a real
It
thing,
is,
right?
yeah, 100%. Especially when it's Humvees, like the basic Humvee trucks that they use. But for the bigger vehicles, they don't mess around with us.
Yeah.
And actually, believe it or not, the Iraqi people are more afraid of pistols than they are rifles, because pistols are used by Saddam's army, and they were usually held by officers. And officers, if they didn't like you, they just pop you.
So
in
it
the
was
head.
just this like,
Yeah. So since I was a medic, I always had a pistol on a leg holster,
right.
and I had an M4. But that pistol on my hip, on my thigh, it actually gave me more respect from the Iraqis, because they were like, "Oh, he's somebody important because he's got one of those. We got to treat this guy with respect." But when they would be around me, they would see that I was very friendly. I was cordial with them. I would try to check them out. And so over time I started building hearts and minds. So we were lucky. We never had a single suicide bomber, not one time.
Wow.
Well,
Super
That's
lucky.
impressive.
from my understanding, that's impressive. I don't know shit about it, but from my understanding, it was not uncommon. I don't know.
Still happens now.
Did you see it?
I didn't see any suicide, bombers or anything like that.
You didn't see it? Okay.
Well, I was involved in a 72-hour firefight.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh, damn.
yeah. It was just kind of funny.
Where were you at? Were you behind like a tree or?
Yeah, so we were like in the ridge line, like on top of a mountain.
I'm comparing it to my paintball experiences, Manny.
Oh yeah.
Where were you at?
Oh,
when
that's
you
a
were-
lot of fun.
Oh no, well,
I suck, Mitch. Mitch, I have no patience. I'm like, I get freaked out and I just start shooting everything, and then I get hit 20 times, and I go wait for everybody else to finish.
Cool.
Yes. So in
Well, I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
I'm
so-
the worst soldier ever.
We'll be on the same team.
There we go.
Yeah, so in Afghanistan, right, there's a place called Asadabad, and it's really hilly, with a lot of greenery,
Okay.
And yeah, man, we were just like dug out on the side of a mountain, and we would just take incoming fire. Well, and then we would take it, and then we would send it back,
Right.
And this went on because on my second deployment, I was on a special assignment. Pretty much like we were assigned to like pretty much set up like radio communications for like the surrounding area, just to help out, like, just in case somebody needed to like call in an artillery strike on an area,
Right,
like, or whatnot.
right.
But yeah, that was my mission on my second deployment. And yeah, man, I don't know, it's kind of weird, just like, it's weird. And this is the reason why I feel like I can't sleep or have insomnia. You know what I mean? And I struggle with it because like like my body got used to like, this combat of like, hey, fight, stop, sleep for 30 minutes, eat an MRE, fight again.
That's kind of the stuff I was getting to earlier with the lifestyle. Like I can't imagine. Do you deal with dreams and stuff also?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So that's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
I mean, people like me are like, oh, we hear about it, but I hope it's more exaggerated. But apparently, it's not.
Actually, what's interesting is people who have been in very massive car accidents, or people who have been sexually traumatized, or people who have been in war. They all share the same commonality in that PTSD does affect everybody. And what the funny thing is that it affects everybody differently. So you can never really pinpoint exactly what they're going through.
Yeah.
All you can try to do is understand. But I will tell you this: when it comes to PTSD, most people who actually have experienced it have frontal lobe deficiencies. So that comes to regulating your mood, your anger, your hostility, attitude, making decisions, trying to work in a timely manner. These are all things that are dictated up here in the front of your brain. If you have PTSD, that part's affected. And I am one of those people that is affected by that. As a byproduct of war as well. So, but yeah, being in a 72-hour fight, like,
man,
that does drain
you.
That really does drain you.
And it's literally no break. Like
there was, but
you can't be like time out.
No, well, you can't because
some coffee.
Well, you gotta get other people into the fight,
Sure.
So like,
do you really like tag team and like people come in and you go out?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but you're still in gear, like in your full battle rattle. Helmet, body armor, weapon,
and you just run back for a few seconds to
just to decompress.
Man,
but every conflict that's ever existed has a thing called a battle pulse. So whenever you're in war, you're not fighting hardcore all of the time because that would be infeasible. You would literally keel over and die from dehydration. But just being at a heightened level of like, oh my gosh, a stray round or a sniper could just pop my noggin right now for 72 hours. That feels like 3 months.
Yeah,
when you're in that for 3 straight days. That is if you're literally on the freaking wall and you're aiming out and just you're 10 tenths the whole time, just straight 10 tenths. So I can see how that would affect you. And I think honestly for like PTSD sake, you need to go ahead and try to claim that for your VA disability and just go ahead and write that out in detail and submit that because that's something that needs to be like documented.
Yeah, let's get that. Anybody hearing this, I'm on board with that. I'm that's a whole nother topic on how veterans are treated in this country.
For sure.
Do you think that, I mean, this sounds silly, but for somebody that doesn't understand, wasn't involved in a firefight like that, what were you told to do? Were you aiming at, were there people, could you see them? Was it like, are you just in the dark getting shot at, or what was going on?
They were pretty far away, man. They're like maybe 300, 400 meters away, on the other side of the mountain.
But you could hit them.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's not
they can hit you.
Yeah, so it's not like we're not in the open. We have like HESCO barriers, which are these like big stone, they're like,
how did it all start?
How they all start? So we were pretty much we were pretty much on patrol, and then we linked up to this forward observation base, right, which is FOB, and then it was newly built, and we linked up with this another army unit, and then as soon as it happened, we took incoming fire, right, and so when they would fire, we would be sending rounds to suppress them.
Right.
Not necessarily like be accurate, but just to make sure, hey, stop shooting at us.
But
stop
still,
shooting at
that's
us.
fucking
Yeah. And this will go on. So it was shoot. So it's pretty much shoot, stop, take a break, maybe, for a little bit. Yeah. And then shoot, stop, is dusk, time. Shoot, stop, is dark. Shoot, stop, is morning. And it was like that for like.
What was the goal?
So the goal, I don't know what the goal is. Well,
And that's what's weird is that you kind of just fire and you don't know what's going on.
well, the goal was to pretty much get a setup for radio communications. So pretty much our combo team, they have to go set up. They're called what, OE254s.
Yes.
I probably mispronounced the
No, you're right.
the military code. But yeah, they're these like large antennas where like other people can talk to us by radio.
Yeah, they're telling us like, hey, there's people in this general vicinity. They're moving in on your territory. You need to go ahead and react.
Yeah. And so yeah, right. And so in the military, right? So you have a base, right? And this base you would make strategically you would make something called an observation point, right? Which is like another smaller base.
Right.
And OP or whatever, right? Their job is supposed to watch out for the enemy. So they would signal the alarm before the enemy comes into the main base. And so yeah, at that time our mission was to link up with this new OP, help them get set up, but they weren't even ready to defend themselves. It was like a half-ass build, essentially.
Yeah, there goes that battle pulse that you were talking about
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
So also another thing that I've learned about our insurgent enemies over in the Middle East, they're not really good shots. There are some that are really good, but they're very far and few between. Generally, whenever they came into contact with American forces or British forces or Canadian forces, just firing on their position would make them melt like butter and they will disperse and try to hide and go run away. But because of the what's called rules of engagement or ROE, that kind of held our hands behind our backs because when Obama instated this new, I think it was during Operation New Dawn, it was after Operation Iraqi Freedom. No, it was after Iraqi Freedom. And what was going on was they were telling us, you cannot fire on anyone unless they fire on you first. And if they throw down their weapon, they are no longer a non-combatant, so you cannot shoot them. So what you would have guys walk up and start shooting at us, and they would throw their gun down, and we couldn't do anything about it. So it was basically like...
So they got wind of this, and they
started learning about it because there are people...
Right? That's
pretty
ridiculous.
Wild. It is wild, yeah. But, that's
Obama.
We're fighting all that right now in the government right now with all the USAID stuff getting cut out because that was a lot of Obama era stuff, and even George W. Bush, he was a part
there's
of
a lot of
he was a part of it too.
and everybody's like, oh, we don't know for sure yet. Yeah, we do. There's some stuff going on. Real quick, I have a topic that I'd like to get to with you guys. Look, here we're an hour in. I'm just talking. You guys, I love it. And obviously we have to have you back. But before we do, talk about assimilating to civilian life. I know. You knew I was going to ask you that. You already talked about the dreams, right?
Yeah.
When you got back, so when you literally came back and you were like, here I am, what had changed? I mean, relationships, family, was it, were you your favorite spots to go eat dinner? I mean, was it just like this surreal? Were you able to kind of like fall back into it, or was it?
You don't fall back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, sure. So when I got back to Fort Lewis, Washington after my deployment, I did not have
Fort Lewis. Is that in Washington State?
Yeah, it's in it's like near Tacoma. It's like 45 minutes south of Seattle.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I used to party a lot in Seattle.
In the north.
Love that city. Actually, that's where I discovered my love for Scotch.
Oh.
But so I remember when I got back, I didn't have any family up in Washington, and my actual family couldn't make it because half of them are in Germany, have been since forever, and then the other half was in Kentucky, but they couldn't make it for different reasons. So I came back to nobody. So when you come into the auditorium and everyone's like, yay, there's my Billy. Here I am just walking in there and I'm 225 pounds of solid muscle.
But you knew nobody was going to.
Nobody was going to be there. So I just kind of like looked around and just was happy for my guys that I'd basically.
I wish I knew I'd be there for you.
Oh, sweet.
Well,
because everybody needs somebody there. Come on,
you
sucks.
kind of need something, right? You need something.
What a shitty story, man.
It's crazy, yeah. So, boo-hoo for me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah.
So, but I remember when I got back, I literally all I did was order Pizza Hut.
Okay,
you may think
Fair
that's
enough.
kind of stupid. No, there is Pizza Hut in Iraq and in some parts of Afghanistan too. But it's not the same. And I remember when I got it, I remember exactly what I ordered.
Okay, do it right now. What'd you get?
I actually got a calzone, and then I got another one that was like just a small pizza, but it was like real thick and stuff like that. It was so bad for me. And so I ate that, and I drank a few beers, and I remember just looking out of my window in my barracks room, and I was thinking like, you know what, I'm really happy for all these guys that came back and all their families are there. And, and I was just like, you know what, God's doing this for a reason, and I don't know what it is yet, but I know why God did that. When I was in Iraq, I used to pray every night, and I said, God, please give me a good woman. Help me find a good wife. I need a woman in my life that I can build with, right? So I would pray for this every day I was there, because I was like, tomorrow's not promised. I could be dead next week. I don't even know.
Of course.
So ultimately, the want to be married and to have a family was like, boom, right there at the top. But I didn't want to do it under false pretenses and just fall in love with some harlot back in town when I come back. I needed to make sure she was a woman of God, a woman of substance, right? So
where'd you meet your wife?
I met my wife. Actually, it was funny. I met my wife.
I need to know now the story.
Yeah.
I met my wife within the first year I came back to the States.
Wow.
So I was in college, and then I was also working, but I was on Fort Knox, Kentucky, because that's where my family lives. And
I'm going to ruin it. She's also military.
She wasn't at the time.
Wasn't at the time.
She was completely civilian. She was greener than green.
Okay,
And,
I stand corrected. Please continue.
and she was going to classes there on Fort Knox with Central Texas College at the time, I believe, CTC. And then, so I met her, and ironically, or no, I should say coincidentally, we had 3 classes back to back to back.
Right.
On the same schedule, and we had no idea about this, right? But as time went on, she realized that I was, I was nice and I cared, and I could tell that, she was quiet but very polite and reserved, but I could tell this was a good woman.
Yeah.
I didn't want to horn in, so I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and just be myself. You know what women always tell you, go just be yourself and all that kind of stuff. I actually did that. I actually did it, and I was like, you know what? Let me see. Luckily, one of the classes we had was music.
Okay.
Intro to music, the super basic elective class. I only needed the credit. And I remember we're in that class, and it was a really great class. Professor John Day was amazing. I still remember this man. But my then wife, well, she was my, I guess, classmate at the time.
Yeah, your then classmate.
She didn't know that I knew German. So, like, I lived in Germany for 9 years. So we were doing Handel, who was a very famous German composer, and we were doing what was that? I believe it was night music. I think it was that one, Nachtmusik.
Yes.
And then Nachtmusik.
Yeah. Okay.
Ein kleine Nachtmusik or something
like that.
So yeah, we were doing Handel. That, and I was actually explaining to her what the Deutsch was in English and what it was actually saying, because the interpretation in the book was actually off. So I was telling her that this is wrong. Wow. So she actually thought that was really sexy. That
I was going to say.
Yeah.
All right.
So then after that, we started becoming friends.
He was in. That was it.
Yeah. So she's a woman of culture. And she's been to Ireland. She's been to Romania and stuff. But she joined the military long after we met.
Seems like a good woman. I don't know her well, but
she's quiet at first, but she is very friendly. I mean, Manny knows this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But it's just great that that's what you needed. That's what you wanted when you came back. You prayed for it, that you did everything to harness the energy and all the things. And what do we call it? You manifest. Mm-hmm. A lot of religious people get mad when I use that word, but I think it can all tie together. And to do that and find a woman that, not to give all your juice, but kids and a new one on its way and things like that. And I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, I am too. I'm very happy.
I hope so. But after everything and all that you went through for the country and things like that, and then you come back and what you wanted has happened. And that's big. And you're next, bitch. You're next.
Yeah, bro.
You know what? Every time Manny's on, I talk about this woman that I won't do it tonight unless you want to.
Yeah, it's up to you.
Let's get to something real fast, because if you'll believe it, we're over an hour already.
Wow.
And so I want to get to this real quick, because instead of, I love listening to you guys talk about, but I feel like I could do it for 6 hours. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
I cannot believe it's been as long as it's been already. But I'm gonna shift gears to this. I'm so unprofessional. My notes. Here we go. I wanted to talk about this person, and it was a year ago, so I'm a little late to the party, but it was brought to my attention. And as military men, veterans, if you will, with all the titles, there was an incident a while back, and I think that I wanted to talk about something that was current events. And you've got two world issues that are going on that are kind of taking. You have Russia and Ukraine, and then you have the Gaza Strip.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk Gaza Strip. And as two military men, I want to know if you know of Aaron Bushnell. Bushnell.
I've heard the name, but I'm not too keen.
Okay. This guy, and I'll give you some of the details, and we'll kind of go as because I'm so, people give me a hard time. You need to just calm down, whatever. But I get so fired up about these things that I step back and I go, all right, let me really try and assess it fully before I get so angry, because obviously this was important to this guy, and I'll tell you what it is. So this guy's 25. He was 25 years old, and on February 25th, so a year ago, 4 days ago of last year, and he was an Air Force guy. We talked about the Air Force, so maybe he got too many good meals.
Too many lobsters.
Too many lobsters.
Too many hobos.
But this guy was a pro-Palestine,
Yes.
whatever you want to call it, activist, and he, by self-immolation, did I pronounce that correctly?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Had a scotch or two. Burned himself alive in front of the Israeli embassy in D.C. Because of his support for Palestinians. As a U.S. Air Force military man, he had no ties to the Palestinians. He had no ties to Islam. He had no ties to any of that. And here he does that. So real quick, these are some of his quotes. He was protesting against what people have been. That's what he said. I mean, protesting against what people have been experiencing in Palestine at the hands of their colonizers. And he said he will no longer be complicit in genocide. He had a Christian upbringing. He began his objections to the military. So all of a sudden he was calling out the U.S. military after George Floyd.
Yes.
I don't know how, first off, I don't know how that tied together, military, but, whatever. And he said he was an anarchist, and he would follow all these social media anarchy pages. He got, groups, and he told them what he was going to do and all these things. And then, of course, when he talked about the Nova Music Festival, which was the big attack by Hamas on October the 7th, which we talked about earlier, was a big date.
Big one.
And I'll let you can talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
And he said those civilians' fun was purely built off Palestinian suffering. And there are no innocent civilians in settler colonization. Give me a break. You're talking about 1,200 people or something like that. It's not them. But anyway. And let's see. So he walked towards the embassy on that day, and he said the following. And then I'll let you guys go a little bit here. I am active duty member of the U.S. Air Force. I will no longer be complicit in genocide. I'm about to engage in an extreme act of protest. But compared to what people have been experiencing in Palestine, it's not extreme at all. Okay, so I'll let you go. I have more, but I'm going to let you go now. And as veterans, and you hear this guy, he's got no ties to any of this. He burned himself alive.
Yeah. You haven't had that since Vietnam.
Mental issues? People go, well, people close to him said he didn't have mental issues. Well, that doesn't mean shit. So do you know this story, and what's your reaction? And let's just talk about Gaza.
Yeah, well, to me, that's treason, I think.
Well, Manny goes like full out.
Well, yeah, man. Like, yeah, it's like well, let's just say, right, if, the Palestine sent this Hamas group, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if y'all see the video, but they're like parachuting in.
Yeah, right.
And if you're the one to start, this like assault, you're a terrorist, bro. Like, hey,
Yeah.
And for you to support, terrorism, I don't know, I can't side with you.
Well, that's where I'm at.
that.
That's where I'm at is especially extremist Islam. And that's what this country and the West has dealt with a lot. I can't align or have empathy for a terrorist organization. And this organization has been known as a terrorist group, and they were elected by the Palestinians
Yeah.
into power. And so I just wondered what your thoughts were when you hear a guy in the Air Force says he does something like that, and he's bashing the military, he's doing all these things, and his his veterans, you're going, I guess what I'm trying to say is I want to pick your brains and just try and get into the mindset of somebody like that. Was there anybody that you knew? Were there people that were kind of like, I don't know, were there anybody that kind of like sympathized with the enemy? Were there any people that you heard about that you were worried about mentally? Because this guy has issues. I don't care what people say.
Yeah.
Burn yourself for the Palestinians.
Yeah.
He's never even been there.
Self-immolation is pretty wild. So, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. So one thing I want to think about is, what was that guy's social life like? What did he have friends in his unit? Did he have a girlfriend?
Right.
Was he always shunned by his other peoples that he was around on a day-to-day basis? Was he the butt of the joke?
He looked like a decent looking guy. I mean, I looked at his pictures, but anyway.
Yeah. I recall what he looks like now. But yeah, those are things you want to look at because, we do have a huge incel problem with men in America, or even in the West in general right now, where men are involuntarily celibate, and they don't know how to deal with that because they feel like the world is against them and they can't get ahead, or no woman will ever want to have anything to do with him because he may talk funny, or he may do things weird, or he just might be, off or whatever. So I think there is some mental health there that maybe should have been addressed. I think his leadership probably should have looked at that and been like, you know what? He's been following a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah.
I've been seeing Palestinian flags or something in his room, right? So that's on the leadership. They need to know what's going on with their guys.
People were saying that is that they wish that leadership had kind of gotten a hold of him and could have prevented it. But
Yes.
if they prevented it now, would it?
Yeah.
What would he have done a year from now?
Self-immolation is probably the most extreme form of suicide. I think I can actually.
Yeah, and
honestly.
he of course yelled "Free Palestine" as he was burning, and then they got him and they tried to put him out. And one guy, one Secret Service guy, apparently had his gun out, and everyone.
Yeah.
There was a clip of one of the other guys trying to put him out, like, "We don't need a gun, we need some fucking fire extinguisher." Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And they took him to the hospital, and he died later. But it just. When I hear this, and I hear this blind support for Palestine, and I say blind because he's not there. He wasn't there. And what bothers me, and then I really want to let you roll, and I've got to get this in, and I'll talk about it down the road on some show, I'm sure. But I did some research, and I wanted to shore up that research more than what I already knew, which is the truth. This conflict is this region way before 1947 or the whole World War I, World War II.
Oh yeah.
This is Palestinians as they are now with Islam they weren't even there until 630.
Basically, the mid 600s.
633?
Just leave it at
Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they had different versions, right? Like the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
Saladin.
Here you go. Manny, I'll tell you right now.
Fought the
I'll tell you right now. So 638 was the first when the Muslims conquered Jerusalem, right?
yeah.
But before that, it was all Israelites and Israeli and
Back then they were called Semites, though.
Semites and the whole shebang. I mean, the Philistines I mean, there's so much. I read it today and I was like, my head hurt because I was just looking at the history in that region. Yeah. And then 1099, of course, the Crusaders, captured it back. And so it really is more involved with Muslims than Christians than anything. Mm-hmm. 1187, recapture of the Muslims. Then 1229 to 44 was the Crusaders, the sixth round of them. And then 1577 was the Ottoman Empire with Turkey, came down and, of course, lived peacefully with multiple religions until after World War I.
Yeah.
Or at the end of World War I. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting here going, the argument that I have is, Israel tormenting the Palestinians and this is their stuff. It doesn't sound like it. If you want to sit here and tell me that in this country, the indigenous. Oh, poor indigenous. They were, they're like, if anything, that's Israel, right? If you want to have a comparison, or am I off? Tell me.
I think there's something there.
You see what I'm saying? Like, this was a long time ago, way a long time ago. This was Israeli land. This was, the Jews were way before Christians and Islam, right?
Yeah.
This was their land. And so all of a sudden you want to say, well, it's genocide and they're taking Palestinian land. Well, how far are you willing to go back?
Yeah.
And that's my whole problem with this thing is it's not as simple as that.
No.
And I'm not trying to sit here and bash like all the Palestinians. I understand their suffering. I understand that, whatever. But it seems to be to me like the victims, the Palestinians are the ones that are being overwhelmed because of technology, because of power, because of strength of military, et cetera, et cetera. That doesn't mean that that they're completely innocent in the whole thing. I'm getting off topic here. But that's to me. So when I hear about a military guy, a United States military guy, killing himself by burning himself in, of course, what we called immolation. That's right, immolation.
Immolation.
And I just want to know. You guys go through so much as combat veterans. You went through so much, and to hear this guy just like, and then throw himself on fire, and then he dies as a martyr, and all these people are praising him. I just didn't know. I don't know if I even have a conversation here, but how does it make you feel as a veteran? Did you know people that were like that mentally?
Yeah, so I didn't personally know people like that, right? But like, I guess if you're a soldier and you're enlisted, you're getting like a wide spectrum of people,
Yeah.
So like anybody who's able to can join the military. And like not only this person, right? Not only Bushnell, but you have Bergdahl, the guy that walked away from in Afghanistan.
I don't know. Bergdahl, tell me.
Yeah, so he was an American Army guy.
E5 Buck Sergeant.
Yes, Buck Sergeant.
Army guy.
Yes,
Okay.
I think he was a Taliban sympathizer.
Oh.
So there's different versions of the story.
Right.
He walked away, dropped his gun, dropped his gear, and just start walking like out of the front of the base.
Whoa.
And he got picked up.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they probably tortured him at first.
And then
but when they realized
he
that he was like,
I promise I want you to be with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, you have Major Hassan, which Mitch probably knows.
yeah, that was the Fort Hood shooting.
Yes.
Oh.
The active shooter.
The active shooter in Fort Hood. That was 2010, 2011,
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah. So you get a wide, weird spectrum of people.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was shooting on Fort Hood.
I don't remember like all the details of it, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was basically of Middle Eastern descent. I don't know exactly what ethnicity he was or what, but he was a I guess religiously Orthodox Muslim man
yeah.
who was in the military as an officer. He was a major, which is like a mid rank in the officer ranks.
Yeah.
So he was like 04, which, he's got some power, some pull. So I'm sure that there was probably some times where he might have been probably leading some of his troop in the wrong direction.
Right.
And that's ultimately a downside of having officers come out of universities in the last 20 years, because after the No Child Left Behind Act took over and basically decimated education,
Yeah.
you have a lot of these universities becoming basically like I guess you could say indoctrination camps for anti-American interests. And Major Hassan would have been probably a prime candidate for something like that. So going back to your gentleman, the gentleman who burned himself up. So I always try to look at details, and I don't know enough about him, but questions I would ask is, so I know for a fact that females most of the time tend to side with the Palestinians more so than the Israeli side.
Yeah.
And I think it's because females in general, because so like in Europe with the Muslim migration that has overtaken the entire Western European front, there are a lot of women who feel sorry for these people and they will treat them like a pet.
Right.
They will almost be like a cat or a dog or a parakeet.
They just want a better life.
They want to take care of them. They want to look out for them.
Order.
The bleeding hearts and all this kind of stuff, right? So So what's been going on is a lot of women have been played against their own safety and interest to start siding with our enemies in our country. And some of them have even gone as far as to leave our country and go to the Middle East to become a wife,
Wow.
breeder
Yeah.
for some
Which,
powerful
you know,
Muslim.
good for them if that's what they want to do.
Right, right.
Go to the Middle East. Don't do it here. But
Yeah, right. I'm not saying we're not anti-Palestine, right?
no. And
there
I'm
are
not
some
trying to come
really
off
good
that way.
Palestinians.
Yeah.
I do
sure.
want to add
You know.
something to this though. So
Go ahead.
So the whole Palestine Israel thing. So there is a subculture of people out there that want racial purity in Europe again.
Right.
They want Germany for Germans. They want Portugal for Portuguese, right? So there is like this kind of growing sentiment of people wanting their land back for their own people, and rightfully so. But because there is so much migration that has just basically flooded into Europe since 2015,
Right.
what's going on is that people have started to realize that they've made a huge mistake, but it's too late now.
Yeah.
Because the indoctrination has gotten to the females that are coming up through the university, and by the time they get through university, all they can spout is Palestine, Palestine.
Yeah.
Now on the opposite side of the aisle, so you have the women, now the men. So the men have started looking into things, the crimes of both sides in through the histories. How many countries have they been kicked out of? How many times have they been kicked out of countries? Are they responsible for pedophile rings, grooming gangs, all these things, right? So there's a subset of people that don't like Palestine and don't like Israel, but they've been following the money. They've been following the crimes that both of those factions have gotten into, and they realize like, wow, I've been lied to. I thought that the Jews were supposed to be a great people. Now I'm learning that they're responsible for, pedophilia and pornography in America, for instance. And so there's this whole subculture of young people, especially men, who are like, I don't want anything to do with either side, and I actually really hate Israel now. So there's like this whole subculture of young men that are growing up and they're pissed off, especially in Europe. A lot are in Canada, and we do have them here in the United States.
I feel like the Jews can't catch a break, man. I mean, has there been look in the history of the world? Has there been a people that's been like as chastised and as I don't know?
They have gone through a lot.
They've gone through a lot.
They've gone through a lot, but
at the same time, you're right.
They have been kicked out of 109 nations.
There you go.
So there's that.
And I'm not.
Or taking 2 nuclear bombs.
There you go.
se.
But I'm not. Yeah. I'm not the Israel apologist. I'm not that guy at all. Just because I brought this up, I'm just bringing up facts.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I mean, I sit here and I'm told all the, if I argue with people about the Native Americans and how it wasn't as simple as what people want to make it.
It's still
they're not as innocent. It's not white European bad and natives innocent. They never did anything wrong, and people yell at me about it. And it just reminds me of that. And it's the same. It's kind of the same thing. Well, back a long time ago, this was the way it was, and all of a sudden they were. But it was okay. It's like, okay, hypocrisy. And I don't like that. I don't like hypocrisy. I hate it. Anyway, that's why I brought it up. But what you just said is really interesting about men and their mindset about Israel right now. And it's a mess. And it's not just going to be, everybody's like, they look like a Fresh Prince or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be just, let's, there's a ceasefire. Oh, everything's solved. It's just not going to be.
No.
It's not.
It's going to be a lot longer than that.
And it's going to take and I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I just don't. I don't have a clue. I mean, the Palestinians and Hamas say that they won't settle for anything less than just wiping of Jews. Well, how are you going to do? I mean, really? And then the Israelis are in constant defense because they're in this country that's surrounded by people that hate them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so they're preemptively striking people, and maybe they shouldn't, and maybe that's over the top.
One thing
It's a mess.
It is a mess, 100%. And one thing I actually do like that Israel has done in the past is if they're going to bomb you, they're going to at least let you know before that so you can evacuate the people.
That's true.
That's one thing
they've
I
done that, haven't they?
do. Yeah.
Now, again, I get people. I get people that yell at me about everything, but I've had people that are like, "That's not true." They're just as bad. They're genocide, all this stuff, and I'm just kind of like, all right. Until you're willing to look beyond that, and I don't know.
I I feel like a lot of people just want to be cool and want to sit there and tell like hot words, like keywords.
Yeah, it's virtue signaling.
Trendy words that they saw on the internet that some really hot chick started spouting
There
off
you go.
and she's crying into the camera.
Virtue signaling. Oh, I feel bad for the poor Palestinian people, and it's just it's like they take the group that's being victimized or the weaker group, and it's just like no matter what. Oh, how dare Israel do this to them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why did Israel do this to them? And you got to look at all that. And I'm not an expert. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to bring that up and tonight, and we got to probably stop here. I it's just not. I mean, I feel like we just got rolling.
Yeah.
So will you come back?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, let's do another one. And this was the warm up. Okay, now people have learned about some of the things that you've been through.
They're gonna dox me.
No, some of the things you've been through. You didn't give any names. You didn't give.
I
any
just told my name,
specifics.
but yeah.
Well, but you didn't give any specifics about. You didn't give any secrets out or whatever that's called.
No operational security.
There you go.
Yeah.
And but I think now that we've gotten to know you, I think it'll be more of a okay. Let's talk about all these kinds of things.
Sure.
Manny, when you were on last time, we hit like tons of topics.
Yeah, we did.
But I really wanted to get. I mean, I know you, but I know you more. I wanted to let people that listen to the show get to know you, and then now we'll roll. I just can't believe it's been like how much time it's been on my. I'm looking at this like, really? Has it been this long? So I had fun. Hope you enjoyed
100%.
being here. Okay. Is there anything at the end? What do you want to talk about, Manny?
No, I think pretty good podcast, you know. Well, you know me. I like to talk about, hey, maybe Ryan is buying my Glock.
Oh, Manny likes talking about guns. Go ahead, Manny, real quick before we close.
I'm just saying. So
get it out. Let's see. I know it's deep down. You want me to buy a gun from you?
Before you go into that, though, I do have to give a caveat. You're like John Wick.
No, man,
You are pretty awesome on the range,
guys.
brother.
I love Mitch. He's my best friend. He keeps telling me this.
You are John Wick,
But
brother.
I was pretty good too.
Yeah,
I was pretty good.
but thanks, Mitch.
Yeah,
Well, there you go. And from what I know of Manny, he takes that to heart because that's one of his passions.
Yeah, he loves it.
But yeah, we'll talk guns, Manny. Maybe I'll buy something from you. I don't know. I'm that guy that I'd have it and I'd be like, oh no, like what do I do with this? But yeah. So anything about that girl?
None yet, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this the one at church?
No. It's my high school crush.
Oh,
Yeah.
the one that got away.
Yeah, that he went into the military for.
Essentially,
So
but
every show he's been on, I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
all right, nothing yet, huh?
nothing yet. But she's out there somewhere.
Well, I'm blaming myself. I need to expand my audience in order to get. It's gonna happen for you, Manny.
Hopefully.
I'll do a dating. We'll do a whole show, Mitch, just about getting Manny hooked up, and we'll interview him. We'll do like one of those old dating videos where he gets in there and he's like, "Hey, my name is Manny, and I like walks on the beach. Hey, I like a nice, I like a Merlot, and on the beach with the moon and all that bullshit."
Actually, since you like Rosie Moscato,
There you go.
you may pick a good one that you think she likes too.
Yeah, there you go.
See,
Yeah.
we'll get it taken care of. But loved having you on, and man, I again I'm delaying because I want more, but
Yeah.
I think it's time to wrap it up and give me something to go out with, and the guys can edit this if they need to. God, you got to have something on. What's a good ending here? Let's end. My boys will edit this. Don't worry. Just let's end something.
Do you have a send off?
Not really.
Oh, so that's something we got to work on.
Yeah. Send off. Huh?
Yeah, there you go. And this they'll probably leave this in because they'll fuck with
Yeah.
me. What did I have? I had one other thing I didn't get to, but anyway, I'll do the cheese ball thing. All right, look. I admire what you guys have done, and to hear that you've come back and had issues and dreams, and no one was waiting for you, Mitch, in the fucking airport or wherever. you were. Yeah, and I do. I feel for him, but at the same time, it's kind of like, oh, poor Mitch, you're all right, because I know him, and he's like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you guys don't. I mean, maybe you get it, maybe you don't, but people like me that just respect the hell out of what you did, and know that I would have been terrible people say you could have been trained. I don't know. My sister's an officer in the Navy. I don't know if you knew that.
Sweet.
She's psychology, so she got her doctorate and she's in the Navy.
Nice.
And she tells me a little bit here and there, just about not anything secret. She's all, can't tell you shit. I'm like, come on.
She's worried about operational security.
Sure,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I had it before her, but I definitely have it now. Just a mad respect for what's going on, and I know that this world is crazy right now. And so you never know what we're going to hear next, and who's going to have to go deal with it. And so thank you both. And next time you come on, we'll talk some more. We'll talk some fun stuff next time. How about that?
For sure.
Yeah, it was pretty heavy tonight.
This was heavy, but I like it. It was so interesting to me that some of the stuff you guys are talking about with just a mindset. People don't think about some of the things that you were saying, and they should. Mm-hmm. They want to make it simplistic, and it's just not.
Sometimes being in the gray is a lot harder than you think.
That is the exit right there.
That's a great exit.
Hey,
There you go.
there it is, Mitch.
All right, brother.
Manny, Mitch, love you guys. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
We'll see everybody next time.
Bye, guys. Thanks,
All
Ryan.
right.
Man, I feel this word. Shadows creep, screams unheard.